Right.
Hello, Facebook. Hello, LinkedIn. Hello, YouTube. I almost said Instagram then. We're not live on Instagram. Not yet, anyway. Come on, StreamYard, get it sorted. So here we are again for another live lunch. I think this is week 32 now, which is absolutely crazy. But I need to stop saying that every week because I'm just getting boring. This week we have a guest. So the fantastic Jackie Torr is joining us from Team. Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
So come on, Jackie, introduce yourself properly. Tell us what Team's all about.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. Nice to join your live lunch, although I haven't got any lunch, only a glass of water. It's been one of those hectic mornings and I thought I haven't got anything to eat, but probably best. Anyway, I am, as Christina said, Jackie Torr, and I'm the Managing Director of Team, which is the Employment Agents Movement. And we are a membership organisation for independent recruiters. So anybody that wants to share business with another recruiter or receive all the benefits of our membership can join us. Key thing about Team is you have to be nice people to do business with. So it's our little strap line in some respects. But yeah, we've been running Team's 25 years old this year, and we would have had a bit of a hurrah at our conference if we'd been allowed to have one, but obviously that all went out the window. But it's 25 years old, and we've had a really good year this year. I think we've had lots and lots of new members, probably for the support that they've needed through what I think we can all say has been pretty tough. So yeah, it's been great for us. We've had some big changes and lots going on, but yeah, that in a little synopsis is what we're all about.
Fantastic. So obviously we've been members of Team or service providers for Team for the last, I want to say 8-9 years. It was just before, I think we'd not long joined, just before I started being part of Green Umbrella myself. So we've seen some real changes over the years in terms of how the whole recruitment space works, whether it's a candidate market or a client market and that kind of thing. And I think right now it's really interesting because obviously from a marketing perspective, we see a lot of businesses that they're just starting up, or they've had to shrink their teams maybe, and now they're looking at recruiting again. And that's for businesses that are not recruiters, like, you know, just generally across the board. And I think there's some real changes in the whole recruitment market. I think that there's a lot of people out there that I'm worried about what I'm going to say in case I upset anyone, or if it comes across as.
Why stop worrying about that now?
Right. Okay. So let's pretend this isn't being broadcasted live. There are a lot of business owners who need to employ people. They need to go through that recruitment process. They don't have a recruitment process because they've had people that work with them for years and years and years. And now all of a sudden they've got to change the way that they're working. They're looking at doing things digitally, that kind of thing. But I think that people assume, because there's been so many redundancies, people on furlough worried about whether or not they're going to, you know, get their full-time role back, that kind of thing. There's a lot of people out there thinking they can just recruit themselves, don't bother using an agency. There's loads of candidates around. Why would I spend money on an agency?
But I think at the moment, it's the most relevant time to use an agency, because one of our recruiters was telling me recently they advertised for a role, pretty a generalist it was, but I guess it was a fairly straightforward role, like an administrator, something similar to that. And for one advert, they got 800 responses. Now, who has got time to sift through 800 CVs?
I think that's the thing. And the screening process, it's not just about looking at a CV.
No.
I like the sound of that. Okay, so when we recruit, that's kind of what we like. I'm looking at a CV and I'm going, sounds like that person's mental. Next, sounds like I can talk to that person, and that's the screening process.
Yeah,
you know, and if you're not, thanks, Paul. I think if you're not recruiting every day, it's a really hard thing to get into the mindset of. Yeah. It takes you 20 times longer because you don't know what decisions to make. Who do I interview? Not interview. Okay, you've done the interviews. You still don't know how to make a decision.
And we're not experts in that field. The recruiters are. They know what they're doing. They know how to look at a CV, how to disregard a CV quickly. Their time is money, isn't it? So, if they don't want to spend an hour on a CV which they think is not relevant for the job they're recruiting for, leave it to the experts. That's what I say.
Yeah.
And we've got loads of those in team.
Definitely.
We have.
The other thing as well is that, so it's been a candidate market for a long time. Okay. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what we mean by that, essentially the candidates get to pick and choose which role they want. It's like, so as an employer, you've got to make sure that your offering is really, really, it's exactly what that ideal candidate will want so that they pick you. It's not about the employer picking the candidate anymore. And I think also a lot of people have just assumed that that's no longer going to be the case. And yet I feel like, again, like it's even more so that people are being the candidates are used to being able to essentially shop around a little bit and choose their perfect employment package. What do you think? What are the recruiters saying to you? Do you think that's still as important? Do you think it's less important now we've got more candidates in the marketplace?
I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of the candidates still think they can pick and choose. And we all know that has changed completely. It's switched around completely now. Just, from previous example, about 800 applications for one job. You have got to make yourself stand out. Your CV's got to be relevant. Lots of talk about CVs being digital, sending a video instead of a CV. You've got to make yourself different, haven't you? Because, if it is an admin role or something that lots of people can do, unless you're really niche in a terribly niche position, there's going to be lots of people all applying for that same job. So make yourself stand out, look different, be interesting. What's going to make somebody want to pick you to interview over everybody else?
It's a fine line, isn't it, between, because I often, when people say, you've got to stand out and be different, some people just go too far, don't they?
Yes.
And you think, oh no, like there was, I think it was an old cliche when someone used to say, when I send a CV, I'm going to put it on coloured paper because they pick it out of the pile. It's like, well, that doesn't work anymore because people don't print them out. So either that or you feel like this is going to show my viewing habits. But see the film Legally Blonde, where she does an entry application, an entry application for Harvard, and it just kind of leaves the people like doing the selection process gobsmacked because she's kind of there in a glittery pink bikini. So we kind of want candidates to stand out, but not where they have
the right reasons.
Tactics, absolutely, in the right way. In the right way.
Yeah, exactly right.
I saw a story in the news. When was this? It was about a month ago now. And this person had pretended, so basically done an impression of the business owner and sent it over to them as a video, basically impersonating this man. And it was a massive risk because the things that he was saying were quite, I don't know, a bit risky personally. But it paid off because they said it was exactly their sense of humour as a business. They found it hilarious. And they hired him straight away, basically. But I think there's that line, isn't there? There's that line of thinking, right, like you were saying, I want to stand out. And it's like, do I take that risk? Is this a calculated risk? Or am I going to send this and they're going to think I'm completely nuts and never give me a job ever again? So I don't know.
And I think it's working for recruiters as well. They're using video techniques with their clients to win that business and sending video messages instead. And I've heard, again, a couple of our recruiters have been doing that with some success, where the clients might not want to take calls at the moment saying, what jobs have you got? They're sending a personalized message because they want to keep in touch with their clients, but they're sending something that is interesting, sharing something of value in that video, so they're giving something to the client rather than asking for something. So yeah, it is getting that message right, isn't it? And doing a bit of background, getting the background information first to make sure your message is key and on point for that particular person. Being whether you're a candidate or whether you're a recruiter or a client even, you know, just getting your message right and doing your research first.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely all about the research. I mean, I think this man obviously did research the company quite a lot and knew that they had quite a sort of a fun sense of humour. So obviously it paid off. But
yeah, you probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
you probably wouldn't do that if you go for a bank manager's job or something, would you?
No.
I quite like that approach, though. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it stood out. I mean, it got an article in, I can't remember which paper it was now. So it got an article in, I can't remember which paper it was now, or but yeah, it obviously worked, but it is a risk. I don't know if I'd impersonate Christina.
That would be really risky.
Emily, you do that on Slack all the time.
Oh, yeah. When you can't use it against me.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So the other thing I was going to bring up as well, Jackie, is that obviously there's so many businesses popping up at the minute. People have been made redundant. They've maybe worked, they've been an employee for a number of years, and they're kind of thinking, right, now's the time for me to try and pave my own way. So are you seeing a lot of sort of brand new agencies appearing, or is it tending to be more existing agencies that are suddenly realizing the power of the team network and joining for that reason?
I think it's a bit of both, to be fair. We've had quite a lot of startups, and I know you're aware that, and you're involved, that there's some of our service providers that are doing startup packages for those that have been made redundant from their current employers, because they don't need that many staff now because they've had to shrink their businesses down. So we are seeing a lot more startups that are thinking, well, I've got nothing to lose. I've been made redundant. Let's give it a go on my own. But we are seeing a lot of people that are also thinking, right, I need a support network now to get me through this down period, or the COVID pause, as some people are liking it to. They're coming in thinking, well, if I can have the support of other people and we can do some business together or help each other out, I think lots of people are coming purely for that this year, because as much as there's all the benefits of, the helplines, the documentation, the discounts from all our suppliers and things, it is about just having somebody else to bounce off, somebody else who's in the same situation as them. They need that right now. And I think that's been key to this year for our members and those joining us, getting that. It's almost like having a shoulder, isn't it, really? Or, particularly one-man bands, or the smaller ones that may have been larger and had to reduce their staff, and think, well, now who I'm going to talk to about the different issues of day-to-day life.
I think there's a lot of them. So whether they are brand new agencies or whether they've had a quiet couple of months and now they're coming back full throttle, from a marketing perspective, it's almost as if they need to consider what they're doing now as a rebrand, even if they're not changing anything branding wise. It's about really solidifying the fact that they're here. That they're on track, and they're, it's like they're ready to serve when you're ready to use them. So are there any agencies that are sort of, they're doing anything in particular from a marketing perspective that is allowing them to stand out? Or Mark, I don't know if you've got any ideas or examples of the sort of things from a creative perspective as well.
Not particular things from the creative perspective, but obviously what we saw, particularly at the start of lockdown, were quite a few companies just sort of taking that time out and thinking, right, okay, we know it's going to be quiet for the next couple of months or so. Let's use this time proactively to actually do things ready for when, you know, things do start to come back online. Obviously, we had a few sort of websites and things, that type of thing, where people thought, yeah, okay, it's one of those projects that gets put to the back burner when we haven't got time. So there's been a lot of people being proactive as well, and sort of getting things in place for now when, you know, things start move again. So like you say, so now they can stand out, whereas perhaps they hadn't looked at their website, you know, for 5-10 years or something. Now they're getting those things in place to be back out there. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think we've seen a few that have decided to use this time to you know, clean up their CRMs, rebrand. Perhaps lots of people are having to think about, right, let's go try a different sector. Is it worth diversifying what we're offering? We're seeing people moving into maybe doing a bit more outplacement stuff, you know, where redundancies are happening for some of their clients. They're helping those candidates that are being made redundant, perhaps not being able to place them in the job, but doing some sort of coaching with them to with their CVs and things, and just hand holding them through a process they may not have gone through for a long time. So I think it's changing with the times, isn't it? And trying to increase your offering and stay up to date so that you are making yourself slightly different to the others. But yeah, like you said, Mark, you know, rebranding, redoing websites, rewriting information, just making everything new, look new and fresh, ready. Because now where are we now? Towards the end of October, you know, things are slowly starting to move again. We are seeing that, and we are hearing that from recruiters that, you know, they are seeing a change. Things are starting to pick up, so they're ready for maybe 2021 for it really to start picking up at a faster pace.
Yeah,
I think it's time for a lot of companies, not just recruiters, but companies in general, to look closely at the copy as well on their websites. So, you know, the brand, but also, you know, if they're talking about working from home being a perk, you know, so if they're recruiting internally into their business and they're saying, oh, we work from home or we do this remotely, that's not unusual anymore.
No.
You know, so some of the things they're talking about, you know, if they wrote them 2-3 years ago or more, it's time to revisit what that might be. And it could be that they're making their website more inclusive. It could be they're doing, you know, the tag there to make sure they're more inclusive. There's all sorts of things. And as Mark said, right at the beginning of lockdown, we were inundated with websites, with people wanting rewrites and rebranding, to the point where I think we were almost saying it was a 2-month lead time at our peak. There was that much.
That's good news.
Yes, it was
Great news.
great stuff and great that we've
Mark
Not
doesn't look
Mark,
very
no.
happy about that.
Neither of us tearing our hair out.
it might have been a little bit stressed at that time.
Yeah.
And video again. So I know before I dashed off to deal with the dog and the delivery, we were starting to talk about video. But when people talked about the fact they offered video meetings or interviews, again, that was unique maybe a year ago. It's not really now, and people need to have that facility in place. And I know you've just brought on some more service providers that offer video interviewing, which just reflects how everything's changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had 2 in the last month join us, and everybody's calling for it. You know, we all know now that home working is the new norm. I mean, I'm in the office today, but we haven't all been in the office together since March. You know, we've all been in odd days here or there, but whilst we don't need to be in the office, why change it? It's working from home, and it is the new norm. And everybody's got to learn to adapt, like we said earlier, you know, and that's what's happened. But Amanda, you're right. You know, how can you differentiate now, because this is where we're at? I mean, who would have thought a year ago, well, 6 months ago even, that we'd have a virtual expo last week? Well, no, week before now, actually, wasn't it? I mean, it's crazy. You know, it's good that things can still go back online, but I do would really like to go out and have a coffee with somebody now and do what we used to do.
Just a coffee?
Or a glass of wine, Christina. You know, I'm conscious that some people watching might not know that we're all alcoholics.
There's not many of them that don't know.
Well, any of them that know us would know that we are. Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, it's been a real shame not having team conference this year. That's the highlight of the year for a lot of us, isn't it? It's such good fun, and a chance to all get together and meet each other face to face is lovely. However, saying that, being able to, for members from Scotland to network with members from Southampton on a call once a week is fantastic. It's just, I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to be able to get more people together.
You're absolutely right. I think so. The conference, team conference, is an annual event, isn't it? It's your flagship event. Great fun. Everybody can, gets together in the Midlands for 2 days. Really, it's a 1-day conference, but you've got kind of the night before and
the lead up
meal. And as you say, that's when kind of all the corners of the UK come together. So the Scottish, Welsh recruiters, people from the West Country, and we haven't been able to do that, but the support that has been there on the video calls, again, certainly at the beginning, and that was one of the things I think we were going to pick up on, was how well you've been, and what advice would you give to people building networking groups to keep that going when you can't network?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've finished in the office about the 17th of March. And from then on in, every face-to-face meeting was cancelled and everything had to go online to keep the network together. And I think this year we've had about 250 meetings as such, but they've all been online, which is amazing because normally we do about 100 a year. But the ability to do them weekly and get people on a call weekly if they wanted to has been fantastic. Just amazing. And I think, we've tried to support the members with everything that's from legislation, government updates, job retention scheme and all those kind of things. But as much as that, it's just having a chat. They've just been general regional events as well. And even like, I know, Amanda, Christina, you and I, we've had calls where we've just phoned for a little catch up and say, how's your week been at the end of a week, just to keep our relationships going and just support each other and just go, oh, are you having a bad week? It's a bit manic, that kind of thing. But, like I said earlier, we've had big changes in the last, it's 3 weeks today, actually, that we had a new chairman. Simon Bliss has taken over team. So he joined us 3 weeks ago today. And he's got some great plans going forward with team. Not really changing anything as such, but building on what's already there, but he's got some great ideas of webinars and forums and different things that he wants to put in place. And, he's going to be front facing a lot of it and be involved a lot in those things, which is great. So more webinars to come, next year, hopefully we'll have a conference towards the end of the year if we're allowed. And I can imagine that will be amazing to get to do it because it'll be so long since we've done one. But yeah, just more of the same, really. Just keeping that communication open and seeing people, whether it is on a Zoom call or, just to chat, but it's just being there and keeping that communication open to everybody and just being there for them, really.
Do you think it's changed in terms of what people want out of those calls?
I think it has from the beginning of the year, yes. Yeah, I think at the beginning of the year, everybody just needed updates and advice. I think now it's become more than that. They have become little communities. They want more training almost now, more knowledge about going forward, not just what should I be doing? What's happening now? What are the government put in place? What funds have I got access to? Not so much that now. They now want the training. How do I move forward? Where should I go? How can I keep my business alive? How can I still build it in this marketplace? So yeah, it has changed quite considerably since the beginning of the year. Although and we are probably still having just as many events, but just making them more specific to different target audiences now.
Do you think going forwards, Jackie, once people possible, fingers crossed, can sort of meet face to face and you can have more of those sort of meetings, are you still going to offer the online meetings, or even people can call into those face to face meetings, or is that something that has that been considered at all?
Yeah, I think we'll do a combination of the both. Okay. Because I think people have got used to the online stuff, and it does mean you can pop in for a quick hour and pop off. If you've got to go to an event, it could take you the whole morning, and you're only going to go to your regional ones because it's too far to travel otherwise. So I think it's key to keep both going. I think the face-to-face are important, and just have those general chit-chat, you know, not even business conversations, you know, just general chat where we all know those kind of conversations are where you actually make the connections and make money. But it is key to have both, I think, now. So I think we will have face-to-face, perhaps not as many as before, but we'll have face-to-face and still lots of online webinars and networking events as well.
I think that makes sense, because I think, like you said, there are benefits from having the online meetings. Obviously, it doesn't take as much out of your day. People are more likely to attend because of the ease of it. So, but at the same time, obviously, as you said, it is very important to meet face to face as well. So I think the combination, I think that will definitely be the best option.
And I also think that now we're starting to record some of our presentations, and I can see you smiling, Christina, because you probably thought, I told her this ages ago.
I don't know what was funny is I was looking at Emily's face at the time, and like her eyes just went,
and we've just started doing that, and starting to edit some of the content so that we can share that not only with the members that couldn't come onto the call, but with the outside world as well, to, you know, for prospective members to sort of a sample of what you get before you buy. But also it gives our service providers extra exposure. You know, they're all, I mean, as you know, most of our meetings include a service provider speaking on a particular topic. And you guys do a lot for us, as you always have. But if we can share that content with our network and then it gets shared further out still, it's massive exposure, isn't it? So it's not only increasing the team presence across the board, but it's increasing that for the service providers as well. And I mean, it's the support from you guys that is keeping those meetings going. We couldn't do it without you.
That kind of ties into another question I had for you, actually, because, you know, we've talked about the membership and, you know, the changes they've needed to make in their business. And obviously, we've talked about changes you've made in terms of the meetings for your existing members. But obviously, you know, your team as an organisation needs to function. You need to grow your membership. So what changes have you had to make in terms of the marketing of team? What kind of things have you had to do differently or think about differently?
Well, actually, you know, now with Simon on board, you know, new ideas, fresh ideas, exciting things. There's quite a lot we're discussing already, and I think we've got a conversation with you on Monday, Christina, for some input in that. So yeah, we have had to look at lots of different things, as much as looking at our website, thinking, should we make changes to how our website looks? We've done an advert recently, which Amanda, you helped us with, that went out. Well, it wasn't an advert, was it? It was an e-shot, I think. It went through Global Recruiter. Yeah. So these are all kind of firsts for us, because, as you know, team members normally come, I would say 90% of our members come via referral, which is fantastic. But there's hundreds of recruiters out there that don't know who team are. Not sure why they don't know who we are, obviously, but we need to start looking at our marketing as much as anything else. So we have a few things in mind, and I'm sure you'll give us some more on Monday, Christina.
Oh, absolutely. It is interesting, because I was looking at the stats the other day, and I wish my notes were to hand, but they're not. And it's something like, and I'm sure you'd be able to correct me, Jackie, but I think there's something like 45,000 recruitment agencies in the UK.
I think it's about 42,000. Yeah, 42,000 agencies in the UK.
And and I was looking at the stats, and sort of every sort of quarter, every 6 months or so, I go into LinkedIn, I do a few searches, and I try and find out, what's the volume in terms of our ideal client. And even that is something like 12,000 agencies fit that, what I would describe as the ideal recruitment agency we would work with. And it's massive. It's just such a huge sector.
I know it is huge, and when you look at the amount of people that we have in our network, how many more there are out there, it's really key that we get to some of them and use all of our networks as a whole to get those people together. Because you're all dealing with independent recruiters. We are, all the other service providers, other agencies are working together with other agencies that aren't in team. So it's utilizing those networks as such as well, I think, and helping each other in that marketing.
Yeah.
It's so. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, I think you've got us well drilled on the referral thing, though, because any time we ever speak to anyone, one of the first questions is, "Are you in team? Do you know about team?"
Oh yeah,
you're all very good.
Well, it's like you said at the beginning. It helps that you're nice. So people kind of say, "Oh, that's a bit fluffy," but it's essentially.
But it is.
Yeah, from your side, you're not going to want to work with people who are. I'll be polite, but unethical maybe, or just not pleasant. But from our side as well, it's a joy to be able to work with people that you get along with.
Yeah.
And of course that makes us want to do more, and that shows through in how passionately when Christina does her presentations, or when I go off into a webinar. Hopefully that comes across. So it just makes the whole referral thing. It kind of has ripples, doesn't it? You chuck the pepper in a pot, it just kind of ripples out, and it works for everybody. So
I think you're right. I mean, you look within the network, you look at all the members, all the service providers, everybody gets on. I know it sounds really cliche and a bit odd, really, but everybody does. And I think it's because it's a certain type of business, certain type of person that just gets it.
But it's regulated as well, because you don't just let anybody join the network. And I think it's too easy at the moment. So that volume of that 42,000 recruitment companies, even though, it's a sector that's been really badly hit in certain areas. So like hospitality recruiters, they've really struggled. People are still popping up and starting new agencies, because if they've been let go by a big agency, they kind of think, well, I'll just go do this on my own. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. But it has to be regulated, because there are some unscrupulous people out there, aren't there?
Yeah, and certainly we do our due diligence before anyone comes in. Yes, we'd love to take new members, but we don't just take anybody. That needs to be clear, that we don't just take anybody. We do some background checks and just check that they are the right fit, because if they're not the right fit, it won't work.
Yeah.
And we don't want to change the feel of the network. It's very friendly, it's very relaxed,
it's very collaborative.
Very collaborative. You get somebody in here that starts trying to take other people's staff or other people's clients, it isn't going to work. That's not what we're all about. It is working nicely together. We're here to hopefully help others achieve their success by giving them the tools to do that, and to give them the network to do that in. And as it spells out, in team, everybody achieves more. So that's what we hope.
Yeah. And I like the way that everyone's kind of got each other's back.
Yeah.
Particularly now, I know people often wheel out there, we're all in it together. you know, we're not necessarily, because some people are thriving, some people are really struggling, but there is a real sense of, okay, we've got your back, whether that's, you know, a supplier to the industry or a recruiter. You know, there was a story earlier this week about you know, fraudulent payments going on in and around the Birmingham area, and you know, recruiters were feeding in the details they had, the lawyers were diving in with, you know, the rules and regs of what we could do, just to kind of tie it all together. Oh, look at that, I've just been bought a cup of tea.
Very nice. Can we all
yeah. It was a sausage sandwich last week.
It was.
Spoiled.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think adding to that, yeah, you're right, you know, all the WhatsApp groups within team, anything like that gets put in a WhatsApp group, it goes into another WhatsApp group, and everybody shares their experiences. So before you know it, it's gone around the whole of team, and everybody's aware of a scam or something that's not right or to be avoided. So it is, like you say, everybody's got everybody else's backs, and yes, some are struggling somewhat or have had to make big changes, and others are doing really, really well. And it doesn't matter whether you're a service provider or an agency, everybody works together.
Yeah. I love that analogy that Paul Green has mentioned, saying same storm, different boats. So yeah, we might not all be in it exactly together, but we're certainly in the same storm.
Yeah, and you know, COVID is one thing that's everybody's been affected by it. It's not just a few people that have been affected by a downturn in their market, it's worldwide. And so it is everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been talking to a couple of people this week. So two people from within the team network, but also another couple of people that are not in recruitment, but essentially the same conversations were happening. I think that if you're running a business and you're trying to keep your clients on board, you're spending the time with them right now. You're having the conversations that are not to sell, but to add value, just to check in, that kind of thing. And there are some people out there that are really, really struggling business-wise. And it's, you know, they've been struggling for a few months now, and it's really getting to them. And you end up having these conversations, and you're having conversations with people that are in a negative headspace.
Yeah.
And it's really hard not to take that on yourself. And I think it is the conversation I've had this week has been, what you're doing is really, really good, giving those people that time and that bit of you, but you need to make sure you've got the balance and have the positive conversations as well to counteract it, because it's so easy to take things on. And I know, Jackie, I know you, Trisha. Trisha's this fantastic woman that works with Jackie, who is, I think we spoke to her at one point, and I think she was probably a little bit on that. I'm hoping the conversation she had with us was a positive one that like helped her keep the balance. But I think you've spoken to so many businesses that have been really struggling, and just like for yourself, like how have you found that balance? And I know, Amanda, this isn't something we've talked about, but again, I know some of our clients that you're involved with have also had quite a tough time. And like how like what advice would you give to people in that situation, trying to maintain their own mindset and offering the support to their client base?
It's really funny that you say that, because I actually got involved in a call listening to a life coach this week, and it was really interesting. And this point was kind of raised, you know, that you're talking to people that are maybe very negative at the moment because they're going through a tough time, and trying to keep yourself positive. And, you know, we're all going through tough times in one way or another, trying to keep things going, but it's keep being positive in your own mind and telling yourself that you can do it. And if you keep thinking those negative thoughts, like you're saying, Christina, if you've got all the negatives coming at you, you kind of adopt that yourself, and you do need to have some positives as well. And I know, like I said earlier, that when the three of us and Trisha have had calls, when one of us has had a really tough week perhaps and gone, I really could do with a real positive call, it's making sure you do those for yourself as well. Because as you say, you can support everybody else, but who's supporting you?
Yeah.
And we all need that.
Yeah.
We all need that. No matter how positive a person you can be, it gets to a point where you think, I'm drained.
Yeah. You have to check out. The phrase I'm a big fan of is you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
So, and it's so easy, especially if you're an empathetic person, to absorb everyone else's. It's basically you're kind of saying, give me that problem, I will carry it for you. And then before you know it, you're overloaded.
Yeah.
You know, and again, Christina and I had a long chat on Friday, and again, she was kind of, it was your job on Friday to say to me, Christina, why are you worrying about what's going on over there? Just because you can see it, it's not your problem.
Yeah.
You need to let me fix that. And I'm a massive fan of coaching. I've worked with a coach for years, and it's so easy. The same as people kind of go, what can I cut from the budget? Should it be marketing? Should it be training? Should it be coaching? Times like these is when you need it the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, I have a coaching session every month. Christina, I know you've got the business coach who does it, kind of spills over into
and I think and even if it's not a coach, I know Trisha would back me up on this. When one of us goes on holiday, when we come back, we go, oh, I'm so glad you're back. And it's just having that person to bounce off sometimes, isn't it? Just to keep your morale up. You know, you might be overloaded with work, but just having that person to go, what about this? What about that? And that kind of keeps you buoyant, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or even things like a design point of view. So when we were in the office, Christina, I said, you often walk past Mark's desk and go, oh, that looks great. And
what's that?
I do something like this. I go, oh, where's my camera? Mark, I've had an idea, and I draw something.
I have seen that on Instagram today.
Yeah. I don't understand. Why can't I be on the design team? That's going to be worth millions one day.
Yeah, but also I think that's a point from working from home, isn't it? When you're not all in the office together and you're not bouncing ideas like that amongst each other. We have Zoom calls every day as a team to keep that not only that togetherness, but to bounce ideas, because you don't know you're doing that when you're sitting in the office, but you overhear something and it brings something to mind, and then you discuss it and you go, wow, that was brilliant. But when you're all working from home independently, you don't get that. So that's hard. So I think that's another thing we've had to adapt to this year, isn't it?
It's probably not having that instant response. There's sometimes, like if we're talking about the creative side of things, then it can be like, what do you think of this, or can we do this, or whereas perhaps we've got to wait for the next Zoom call to actually bring that to the point, sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you know as well? It's the so Jane was. So Jane's on holiday. That's why she's not on the call today. But Jane popped into the office because she needed to pick something up, and we were opposite ends of the office and talking about some Facebook ads. The conversation that we were having, we've had similar conversations on Zoom, but she was here for about 45 minutes, and probably 20 minutes of that was us talking about these ads. And yet her words were that she got so much more value out of that 20 minutes because we were actually in the room together. Yeah. And do you know what I think a big part of it is? I started scrolling through Instagram and Facebook looking at ads, like whilst we were talking. If I was doing that on a Zoom call, it just looks like I'm distracted. Yeah. And it's little things like that. And Emily will tell you, it's like all that, like we'll be on calls all the time, and she's like, are you actually listening to me right now, or have you got distracted? Have you tuned out? And it's not. It's like I'm like, because I'm thinking, I'm then looking at things and they're like this is what the thing is that we need to do next. And I think on a Zoom call you lose that, whereas that kind of thinking time that someone has when you're face to face, you can sense that person's thinking. Yeah. And that's the one thing that I don't think you can communicate over Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, because you often see people and somebody's talking, and then all of a sudden there's this kind of, and they're looking at the phone, and you think, I've lost them. Yeah, they're not with me any longer.
If you've seen me doing that, it's because I am looking to make sure that we've gone live on Facebook. So
Can I just say as well,
have gone live.
if you see me doing that, I'm making notes. I have to make notes for our YouTube clip. So I've taken over Jane's job. So me looking down is writing notes as well. So nobody think I'm being rude.
Not on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okie dokie. Well, we're coming up to time now. So has anyone got anything else for Jackie, or should we wrap this up?
I just think you guys have been absolutely amazing this year. You could not have gone through more change. You know, going through like a change of leadership and ownership is a big enough deal in itself, let alone having to change everything else. So I think, you know, it's been great to get you on and hear your ideas, but also, big respect to you, Trisha, Simon and the team.
Yeah, we've got a really good, strong team, and it's worked. Everybody's really pulled together this year and made it happen. And it's exciting times ahead for us, I think. But, you know, like I said, I've said it earlier, you know, we haven't done it without the support of the network ourselves, you know, and you guys and everybody that helps in everything we do. We couldn't do it without you. But that's what we're all about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, but thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You come back again, and we need to organise it and get Simon and Trisha on as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And have a good chat then.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. And for everyone that's watching this or listening to this on the podcast, thanks for tuning in. And we'll be live again next Thursday. It's just the Green Umbrella team next Thursday at 12 noon. And we'll be talking about all the social media updates and things. So until then, we will catch you later. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.